Hello, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Amazing Spider-Man figure from Hasbro. This is from the first movie. This one is the extra articulated figure that I mentioned in a previous review. I tried to look to see if I could get hold of one. I picked it up for about £5, I think it was. So let's take a quick look at the packaging. It's just the standard picture of the new Amazing Spider-Man, a picture of the actual figure itself saying it's posable from Hasbro in the 3 3/4 inch line. On the back it does show you a couple of the poses that you can get him into and a few other ones that are in the line. So let's get this open and see if it's worth the cash. So here he is straight out of the packaging. It doesn't actually come with any accessories, but that's fine if the articulation is worthwhile. I don't mind that at all if we get a decent figure and it doesn't come with some gimmicky giant blaster or something stupid like that. So quickly go on to the sculpt work. He has got this webbing sculpted all the way through the whole of the red parts of his body. It's quite nicely done. It does go all the way through down to the boots and also on the hand. Lots of fine detail in there. Then the blue all over the rest of the body is got this like mesh on it, and that's throughout the whole of the blue on the body as well. It does come with quite an ugly burn mark in the back there with a serial number, which is a bit of a shame. I'd rather we didn't have that on our figure, but what can you do? Both the feet have got printing on, so they couldn't have put it there. If we go on to paintwork, I believe the top is, yeah, this is red, moulded in red. That is moulded in red also. The legs moulded in blue at the top, and the bottom are moulded in red again, and the shoes are in red. Go to the arms. This is moulded in red, this is moulded in blue, 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 and the hand is red. So that's all that. Paintwork, the eyes are done nice and neatly. So is the emblem on his chest of the spider, and also on the back, painted nicely, considering that's on a blue oh no, it is on red, but it's been painted over the blue. It does give it a bit more of a purple tinge, but still it's been done nice and neat. Even these little bits going down the side of the arm here, lovely and neat. This bit is slightly sloppy. You can see a little bit of bleeding over where the sculpt work actually is, but down to the hand, that one's been done well. The web blaster on that one looks okay. It is just a round blob. And on this arm, let's see what the paint's like on this arm. This one's actually done a lot neater than the other side, and that's neat also. So all in all, down to the feet, the silver's been done quite well. Not really any bleeding there. There is a little bit of paint missing just from the end. It's supposed to come round in a curve, but this foot, they've managed to do it well. And on the bottom is just a solid silver colour. So paintwork, as it had a wash, it looks like it's had a brush, which is strange, because for the indented you'd think they'd have done a wash. Well, maybe it's supposed to be, but it's just not worked out very well, just to try and highlight a little bit more of the webbing, because there is a lot of detail and it would have been nice just to bring it out, but I could probably just give that a wash myself just to highlight it a little bit more. So if we go on to the main feature of this figure, articulation itself, as you might have noticed, it does have quite a lot. So if we start with the head is a peg going into the top of the head, and then it's on a hinge. Yeah, that's just from the peg that we get that motion. So you do get all the way round, a nice up, a really good down, and you can get a slight tilt on it sometimes. So that's good. A nice range of motion in the head. Then to the arms, these are on a peg and a hinge at the very top. So that means you can get it quite close into the body. The sculpt work of the chest does get in the way, but that's not too bad. All the way up, all the way down, out to the side. You can't get it to go any higher than a right angle unless you turn it round, but then it does go all the way up, which is fantastic. Then this is just a peg on the bicep, so that gives you the additional motion to be able to get the arm across the chest. The elbows are double jointed, so you get every single bit of motion that you want out of that. As you can see, goes all the way. He can face palm himself nicely. So that looks quite good, and happy the way that it comes across. Excellent. Just having a double jointed elbow in these kind of figures definitely helps, especially if the sculpt stops it from going across the chest, because it just, and even if figures should always come with it, for holding guns and everything, it's just amazing to be able to get them into those positions. Anyway, down onto the wrist, it is on a peg going in to the top of the wrist, and it also has a hinge as well, which is fantastic. An extra bit of articulation in there. It does feel a little bit flimsy, so just be careful with that. It may be quite easily broken because it is very thin on this figure. Exactly the same on the other arm. Then we have an ab crunch, so we can get a tiny bit of forward on that, and a tiny bit of back. But at least it is included. It does help just with that little bit, but it does make it look quite ugly in certain positions. But then if you're looking from the front, it's not too bad. Down to the legs. The legs are on a... Let's have a look. It's actually a peg. Rather than going across, it goes straight up into the body. Same on both sides. So you've got two pegs going up inside the torso. Which does give it a bit of a strange motion sometimes, but you can't just get the leg straight forward. You have to bring that ball round and then rotate the peg that's in the top of this leg, but you can get the articulation out of it. So obviously you can't get it any higher than that or towards the chest, but if we spin it all the way round and then put the back on it also, there we go, we get quite a reasonable amount of movement to go backwards with. Is hindered by the bum cheek again, but that's just to keep the sculpt. If they changed that, then the figure would look ridiculous. The only thing about moving that ball around all the time means that the sculpt work doesn't always line up with that red bit, but when you're posing it, it doesn't look, you don't notice it too much. So as I said, it's a peg going into the bottom of the leg, so it does give you the swivel. And then we are back onto the double jointed knees on the bottom, so that's amazing bit of articulation there. So if we turn that ball round, there we go. So up and back as well, and then the foot is on a peg that goes this way down rather than straight down. It goes into the foot rather than into the heel, and that is on a swivel as well. So we've got a peg, you can move it all the way to one side, all the way to the other side. Good rocker on there. You can get it only that far forward, but you can get it all the way down and back. So some amazing articulation in this figure for the size of it. This is what you want in a figure, especially a Spider-Man figure, as you might have seen in my other review. I hate figures, Spider-Man figures, that you can't put into decent poses, but this one seems to have solved the problem very well. Any different things I'd do differently with the articulation? Maybe just a little bit neaten up on the ab crunch, but all in all it does help just to keep the sculpt. You can get some side to side on that as well, which is good. So for £5, this is the Spider-Man figure for me. Even out of the Marvel Universe or any Amazing Spider-Man 2 figures, what else, other range of figures, I haven't seen one in this scale with this kind of articulation on. And even if you're not a great fan of this suit, the figure alone with this posability definitely makes up for it. So that is the superposable Spider-Man from the Amazing Spider-Man movie, the first one. These are on the shelves at the moment, going quite cheap. I highly recommend that you pick this one up. It's probably the best Spider-Man figure I've seen in a long time, definitely in this scale anyway. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for more Rawpain reviews.